Welcome back, everybody, and in this episode we're going to tackle some of the rust around the rear wheel wells. Last episode we took care of the passenger side sill and got that all done. I ended up doing this back piece off camera. I just wanted to get that all wrapped up, and I had honestly just run out of time to do it and just didn't record it. But this week what I want to do is on both sides there's a bit of rust along this part of the inner wheel well at the back of the car here. So same the other side, it actually goes up quite a bit higher. We need to clear off all of this sprayed on undercoating here in order to see where we're at. So let's get that all cleaned off here, take a good look at it, and start to make these pieces.
So right here I'm just using an old wood chisel that I've sharpened up, and I've nicked off the sharp corners so it doesn't dig into the metal, and it takes off the undercoating pretty easily.
Well, we got most of the rubberized undercoating off. As you can see, it just scrapes off pretty easily if you use a nice sharp chisel and you get the right angle. Some of these curved pieces I didn't get to, but they're really, up here where, obviously that is not right. There looks like there was some water sitting. It didn't, I guess when they put the fender on, they sprayed it. They just don't get in here properly. So I'm going to wire wheel all of this, and it doesn't look like it's perforated through. There's some bad pitting, but not bad pitting. But down here, I was concerned like the other side that this went all the way up, but it doesn't. This is nice and solid up in here. So I'm happy about that, other than some surface rust. So I really only have a little piece here to fix. And as you can see, it, needs to be repaired to about here. So just as it starts to get into the curve. So this is all straight, which is nice, and then it just gets a little bit into the curve there, and it doesn't go too far to the back, which is good. So what I'll end up doing is drilling out these the spot welds that they have here, giving it a good wire wheel, and cutting it back here into some fresh metal and across, and then we'll replace that piece. So let's wire wheel the crap out of this and see where that gets us as far as, needing to replace anything else. So now that that's been wire wheeled, as you can see, that needs to be replaced, and I've marked out that and some of the backing panel as well. I'll have to see how far down it goes once I remove this, but I think I might be able just to wire wheel behind this when I take this front one off. Preliminarily, I have marked out this definitely needs to go. Obviously, this top piece will have to be fixed as well. And then I've marked this one out, and as you can see, there's some pretty heavy pitting here. There's only one tiny rust through there, but I'm going to take it all the way to clean metal. The likelihood is that I'm going to try and wire wheel behind this if it's possible, but if it's not, then I'll just add on to this piece, the back piece here, that is going to be done. I'm going to try and keep this little piece here just because it keeps everything aligned, and it's attached to the wheel well that's not being removed. So that kind of acts as a point that when I remove this back piece here, and as you can see, I've got a fair bit of rust repair on the top side of this, as well as the antenna hole. I'm going to cut that out and put it to the side so that I can repair that later after I've got the undersill stuff all fixed. The top of this one is actually pretty good, so I'll probably only have to replace this side piece here, so that's okay. But I don't want to do this top one here until I'm a bit better at doing this sort of stuff, because that's going to be a visible spot. And as much as it looks flat, it actually, it's not. I don't know if you can see, but this point here it actually has a bit of a dip curve in it there. So it's not a perfectly flat piece. And it might be easy enough to fix, but again, I don't want to get into that until I've had a little bit more practice with shaping sheet metal and welding. So so next step is to cut out this stuff and then make those parts out of the sheet metal and put them in. So let's get to cutting.
So I'm just drilling out the spot welds there and using a die cutter to cut out the metal. Once I've done that, I do a quick template and lay it out on some metal, cut it, and just flatten it out and try and fit it in place.
Well, now that we got that little piece cut out and fitting into place, we are going to tack weld it into place just around the edge here. Then we'll make the other piece.
So I'm just tacking this as much as I can using the MIG welder, and I'll just give it a nice scraping grinding here just with a flap disc just to get rid of the high spots, etc., and get ready for templating the back piece and the part that goes over top of that. Again, I'm cut this out as a paper template, mark it out on my metal and cut it, straighten it, and get it bent up in my little handbrake to fit into place.
Right, so I couldn't turn this down because they had this all on sale. The shrinker and stretcher were on sale, and I've been wanting one for a while, so I finally bought one. So in order to get this to curve this way, I need to stretch this metal. So as I stretch this metal this way, this will start to curve around that way, or like that. So the yellow one is the stretcher. So what I've done is I've marked out where the beginning of the piece is. And what this does is it has two pieces that have claws on it that grip the metal, right? So it'll grab the metal and it'll pinch it and then it'll pull it apart. It only pulls it a tiny bit, but it does it really quickly. So I'll show you here is I'm just going to pop this piece in here and I'm just really lightly going to step on it, very light, ever so lightly. Move it a little bit, and again, move it a little bit, and again, and come back again. There we are, and just get right at the edge of this here. You don't want to go too far, but if you go too far, that's okay, because that's what a shrinker's for. So as you can see, it has curved the metal now. So when we take it back over here now, as you can see, there's the curve in the part, and go like that. So you can sort of see that this cut that was this way is now pointing that way. And you can sort of see I've kind of overstretched it a little bit, right? So what I'll do is I'll come back over here to the stretcher side over here, right? And I'm gonna pop this piece back in here, and I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a shrink. There, and I just take a little bit of the curve out of it. So now we shall come back over here, right, and put this piece here. And as you can see, that is just pretty. So I'm really happy about that. So now what I'll need to do is just need to trim off this little bit here in order that it'll fit with this here. And I will be able to I'll have to drill this and do some spot welds, and we will spot weld it onto here. Now, what I have noticed is that I'm nice and tight there, And there, I'll be nice and tight. So let's trim this and get this. See how this fits into place now. All right. Okay, so what I've done is when I welded this, the weld is kind of taken away the step here. So what I may need to do is just grind that down a little bit just to get the step back in, but it fits really nice. So I might just leave it and just weld the crap out of it. The top one, you can sort of see there's a gap there, and that's because there's a weld right there that's holding it up. So I'm gonna grind that off of there, and we'll get this piece to fit nice and tight.
So I'm just drilling a few holes in this so that I can use the MIG welder to plug weld, using some weld through primer as well so I don't get rust in the future between the parts there. Once I'm done my welding here, I just grab my grinder with a flap disc and give it a cleaning.
Okay, so that's been tacked into place. I did these through holes here and got a good penetration, good weld on that. And I tacked this so that it's nice and smooth and flat. I'm not going to fully weld that out just yet because I want to TIG weld it. But, setting up the TIG welder, etc., I may as well do everything at the same time. So what's going to happen next is I am going to remove this little piece here, and then I'm going to see about cutting these spot welds out of here so that I can access this. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to sequentially take all this apart in order to get at this back panel, because there is no way that I'm getting at that from inside. There's just no space for me to get a tool in there. And as much as I can see it from here, just getting a tool into there to try and get it out is not going to happen. I might luck out where once I pop these out, it may just come apart. Like I might be able to pry it apart in there, but I'll have to see if I can do it that way. I'm gonna have to clean this up to see where the spot welds are on here in order to be able to drill those out to get it out. So so that's next on the agenda.
So I marked out where I wanted to cut just with a marker, marking back to good metal, and I'm just using a cutoff wheel to take one layer at a time, as well as I'm just getting ready to drill out these spot welds here.
So now that all that's been taken out, I can take a look on the inside here. Let's grab this camera. So we can take a look on the inside, and we can see that there's some place here that there was no rust, and where there's a bit of rust here. There was a bit of rust that ran down this way, but it didn't penetrate. So I'm gonna give that a sandblast and do some rust encapsulator and then caulk it. So as you can see here, I still need to cut this along here for this inner panel. So let's get that cut out first.
So I start out just by using the cutoff wheel and then using a file here just to clean up all my sharp edges. And then I grab my chisel again and I'm just removing a bunch of the sprayed in stuff that's all over the place that they left in there.
Right, so what I had to do was get rid of all of the the undercoating that was sprayed up inside there that really did no good. You know, that way when I'm ready to do my welding, I'm not going to set the car on fire and kill myself with fumes. So there's a little bit of scraping that I still need to get done, just to clean out this groove here. But other than that, this is now ready for me to start templating the parts and putting them into place. So let's scrape out that groove and see if we can't get some parts templated. Okay, so what I've done is I've made a paper template as per usual, and that fits quite nice. I cut this piece out because I can't bend around a corner, and I don't have a stamp or anything to do these complex things. So I'll make that out of a couple other pieces, and that'll fill that up. But yeah, basically I have this little piece that's gonna go here, but it's level with this one, and it's not level with this one. So so now let's get this marked on the metal and cut out, and we'll figure out how the hell we're going to bend this without having to weld this whole seam. So let's give that a try.
So as per usual, I start out with marking it on the metal and trimming it out. I like to hammer things flat, make sure, you know, sometimes there's a bit of a wave to it when especially when you're using a set of vice grips or a set of snippers. And then I bend up the part using the shrinker stretcher just because there is a little bit of a curve in it, but not much. And then I'm putting in the reverse bend here, and what I've had to do is clamp it to the table and then clamp a piece of metal in and just go bit by bit. There's no way for me to get that bent up in my my tool without doing it this way. So here I'm just fitting it into place, and it's just a lot of small adjustments, making sure that it goes in, a bit of trimming here, a bit of bending there.
Right, so as you can see, I had to do some interesting jig making in order to get this this shallow crease put in, because I don't have a knife style break. So anyway, that fits really nice now. Got that into place, so I've just got it clamped down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some spot welds onto that, and probably have to hammer and dolly it just to make sure that it doesn't move around at all. But that is looking good. So let's throw some tacks into that and keep moving. Right, so now I have to make this little piece in here that's kind of got this shape to it. So let's do that. Well, so I completely welded this part here. I still have to, finish weld this and all of this here, and along here I kind of did, but it's not the greatest. And again, down here it's got to be done as well. So the next thing to do now is to replace the piece that went underneath here and wrapped over top. So that one will have to bend, And then I'll have to put it into the stretcher and stretch it to get the curve. So let's make a template for that and bend that, cut it, bend it, and put it in place. That takes care of a big chunk of that. So yeah, I still have to finish weld it, but looking at the ceiling there, sorry. Yeah, so I still have to finish weld it, but I'm quite happy with the way those pieces went together. They went in there. They're, I'll be spraying them and et cetera, et cetera. So next on the agenda is going to be doing these two top pieces that wrap down over top of this. Now, if you remember, there's holes that I have to put in for mounting the fender. I'm going to put those in afterwards. Once I have the fender in place, I'll be able to mark them properly rather than just guesstimate. Now, if you notice, there's a little bit of a wobble, so this has to, come out a little bit. In order to fit. But I'm really quite happy with the way that's going together. It's getting rid of all of the crappy rust that was on this car. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Okay, so what we've done is we've made up a piece to go in here on the top, and this is interesting because it's not a full 90, it's actually a little bit up this way. And this one, it's got a bit of a curve as well here. So I had to use the shrinker to get it to curve. But then this part is just above 90, but then it transitions to below 90, and it's got kind of a little bit of a curve dip in it that you can see in the panel here, right? Like right along here. So it's making this kind of a compound type piece. So what I'm actually going to do is I got it really close. I got the curve right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the front and I'm going to tack spot weld it, and I'm going to adjust as I go. And then if anything, I may have to just tap the whole thing into place to get it to just be nice and smooth. Again, there's going to be a little bit of Bondo on here, so I'm not really too worried about it, but it's pretty darn close, and, it is what it is. Okay, so we just gave that a bit of a tacking in place there. Pretty good. Going to give it a clean down. Just going to grind it down a bit. Just wanted to point out something. So, yeah, buying cheap hammers, like seriously, eh? Like let me focus in on that for you, because, all right, like you saw me the other week polish these things, and seriously, that's just pathetic, So, yeah, so suffice to say, I don't know where I picked those up. I honestly can't remember where I bought them. They're like no-name brand hammers, but let's just say that I'm going to spend more time fixing the hammers than I am fixing the car. So if you are doing a car, hot tip for you, spend a bit of extra and buy a good set of body hammers, because man, oh man, that's just like seriously, and only like I'm seriously only just tapping onto onto MIG welds. Like that's just and it's rough. I mean, it's pitted. It's not just like, look at that. It is not just marred. It's pitted. Anyway, we'll make do. It is what it is. We'll make do with it. All right. Well, moving on, we're going to grind that down and get the little front piece made up. Okay, so I have a little brake here for bending sheet metal, but it's not working very well. So whenever I bend this, this piece, this angle iron here, just it's bowing in the middle, so it's bowing out this way. It's fine at the ends, but not in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 1-inch square tubing, and I'm going to weld it right on there like that, and that will keep it from bending, or at least will support it better. So yeah, let's make our tools better. Well then, yeah, I just made this piece up and threw it into place because you've seen me do it a million times. But man, this thing spatters a lot, you know. But it's a little easier than the TIG welder for just spotting stuff in. So that piece also had a little bit of a curve, very, very slight curve in it that I needed to do, as well as this part is slightly more this way, then it tilts up, and then it goes this way. So it actually is a fairly complex piece to make up. It took a little bit of doing. And even though I fixed this by stiffening it like this, the radius that I'm getting on that is still fairly soft. It's not as sharp as the original radius. So on these larger pieces, I'm getting a really soft radius, and short of like hammering it while it's in the brake, I have to tap it in a vise, you know, clamped in the vise in order to get a sharper edge. So, you know, in places like this up here where there's a soft radius, it's not a big deal. But here, I wanted a nice tight line. But that, you know, aside from drilling the holes for the fender and actually welding this together, which I should be able to get my spot welder into the front part here. The back part here, I will probably have to just drill and weld. So yeah, that's where I'm at there. So basically all that's left now is to just final weld all these pieces. Everything is accessible that I tacked into place, and I just need to finish weld those, and that tub is done, or that part of the car is done. I will then be moving on to this piece here, which is behind which is sort of where the tail light fits in. So that'll be coming up next, but let's get to welding this first. Right, so I forgot to spray up inside here between these two panels before I tack welded these in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a screwdriver. Oh, geez, I'm not even facing you. I'm going to pop a screwdriver inside just to open it up, put some masking tape over the top part here, spray it in there, and then get this ready to spot weld. Right, well, I got all of these plug welded. There you saw me just drill out the top layer with the spot weld remover, which gave me a nice size hole. These got spot welded, which was perfect. Welded across the top here. I'm getting better with my consistency in welding. You know, like if you take a look at the blue where you get the heat sink, the wider it is, or the more consistent it is, then the more even that you're moving along, which is nice. You saw me tapping this out and flexing it up with a lever underneath. Still a little bit low here. The rest of this is pretty good. This is a bit much of a dip, but it's like really impossible to get in there and get some good leverage on it. I might try and tap that up a little bit later. Otherwise, a tiny bit of Bondo there is going to help. Now, I still have to weld this seam here. I have a bit of a seam across here that needs to be done as well. And I have to do this one. So yeah, let's get moving on some of that. Okay, so I've given this a weld in here, just still have to grind it down. It's, hidden, so I'm not going to go crazy with it. Likewise here, still need to weld that. So I'm running low on argon, so I'm hoping I'm going to get this done. But that's all that's remaining over here to weld, so may as well get into that. Well then, that gets that done as good as I want it done. So I still have, I'm actually thinking what I might do is actually weld this seam completely and fill it, rather than having to have two pieces here. I'm thinking I might just weld that seam and to hell with it, and I'll do that on the both side. It'll give it a bit more of a modern, seamless look to it. And then there might be some other places that I'll do the same thing just to clean up the body lines a little bit. But other than that, that is now done. The wheel well, I would call that good to go. So next on the agenda is going to be repairing, this here, which is kind of, got tin worm. There's a fair bit that needs to be fixed. So what I'm going to do is I've got a disc. I'm going to get all the rust off of this, get some of the paint off, see how far I need to repair. It looks pretty good down here and all through here, but as you start getting into this area in here, it is not as good. So the top, fortunately, the top where no water has sat, which is terrific. It seems to have just rolled off because of the angle, but it seems to have gotten in behind that sponge rubber that's here. So let's clean that up and see what we need to replace. Well, after a little bit of sandblasting and a lot of scraping, that is what I'm going to cut out. Okay, so I cut this piece out. The backside, the paint looks great, except for where it's rusted through. And, just taking a look at the edge, the thickness of the material is pretty good everywhere that I trimmed it. So I'm not too concerned about, let's see if I can get this to focus. I'm not too concerned about about being able to weld this. I cut it back far enough that the metal is still solid and I'll be able to weld to it. What I might do is I might radius this corner a little bit just so that I don't blow it through. Radiused corner's easier to weld, but that looks pretty good. It's a fairly flat piece. There's a bit of a divot. So what I'm probably going to end up doing with this piece is I might just make some kind of a wooden buck that follows this and then just hammer the piece into position, into place. But let's cut this out of some material, and let's get that going. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I took a couple coupons that I had in stainless steel, and I cut the curve out of the just to clamp at the top, but I have exactly the same one underneath, and then I've got a small piece here that finishes off the round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand bash this down now over that curved coupon that I made right there. So let's get started on that. That was a bit of work to get that done, but you saw a different process there where I was, yeah, it's a different process altogether. So that now is ready to be tacked into place. It looks pretty straight. It's hard to see with the light there, but you know, it fits nice all the way around. There's a couple larger gaps in places, but you know, that's okay. And again, this here, I'm gonna have to weld that up as a step, but I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out, actually. You know, all things considered, it was not a super easy piece to make, but you know, you could sort of see a different type of process that's involved in making something that has this type of a stamp when you don't have, let's say, the right tool for it. You can make a shape to go underneath, clamp it in place, and just hammer it very slowly into shape, and it works. So I'm going to pop out the MIG welder, and I'm going to give this a couple tacks all the way around, and then I'll knock it down and just make sure that this whole panel is kind of looking nice and straight and even, and you know, isn't all messed up. So let's do that, and we'll go from there. Well, I'm not going to complain about how that went in. So that actually went in really, really nice. Oh, okay, stupid light. Like, seriously, went in really, really, really nice. So yeah, so I'm pleased with that. It needs to be welded all the way around, and it's got to be welded here, but I am out of argon, so I can't TIG weld that. But that, aside from TIG welding that pretty much gets this side of the vehicle to where I want it. So yeah, I think that's probably gonna do it for now. Well, that looks like about all the time I've got this week to work on the car, this episode. That has wrapped up this whole side of the car, you know, as far as I want to get it right now. Next episode, I'm going to flip over the other side and repair the wheel well on that side, which is in worse shape. So, yeah, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. You know, like, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. Leave some comments. You know, really, I've only got a couple viewers that watch this. I really appreciate you all sticking around. Thanks. See you next time.